Good morning. Before my sermon, I'd like to share a poem by Mary Oliver. The title is Journey. One day, you might finally knew you had to go, do, and begin, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt a tug at your ankle. Meant my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You know what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundation, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and the wild night and the road full of falling branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn. Through the sheets of clouds, there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own and kept your company as you strove deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do and determined to say the only lie you could say. This morning, my sermon is called Spirit of Leadership. Since 1986, I have coached and developed authentic leaders around the world. What is happening right now in the world has broken my heart. So I decided to talk about the concept of leadership. After working in the field for so long, I can say that leaders are defined by the people who follow them. I have been wondering why people willingly follow authoritarian leaders. According to various psychological studies, people follow dictators for a mix of deep psychological and pragmatic reasons. This phenomenon is rarely about mass ignorance. Instead, it is a complex behavioral response to fear, manifested narratives, and deeply ingrained social instinct. According to various psychological studies, followers are often driven by intense desire for order, security, and stability during a chaotic time, a craving for simple moral clarity, and the promise of a return to something known and proven or someone to save them. This is how dictators are born. Autocrats seize on these psychological needs of ordinary people and promise that they will solve all their problems. Dictators act as surrogate protectors or father figures, fulfilling a fundamental human need for direction and purpose. This is very attractive to those followers who are willing to surrender their autonomy. In the book entitled Strong Man, author Ruth Ben-Chiad tracked the autocrat's pattern from Mussolini to the present time. Strongmen know how to manipulate the followers' vulnerability through fear, charms, and greed. While offering black and white certainty, authoritarian leaders routinely manufacture and exaggerate threats, blaming anyone who's not one of us, and creating a common enemy for followers to hate and fear. Their actively dismantled democratic system use surveillance, secret police, censorship to make dissent incredibly dangerous. For many, the decision to follow is not a choice, but a survival mechanism for fear of violent retribution. Lastly, individuals in the dictator's inner circle, such as military leaders, loyal bureaucrats, or business empire builders, often support the regime out of self-interest. These followers gravitate towards strongmen because power is an aphrodisiac. They receive wealth, status, and protection they might not otherwise attain in fair, democratic, or law-abiding society. Looking at this country's leader who craves praise, eliminated all the guardrail around him so that he could do anything he wanted. People around him colluded because of fear and greed. So they let him become an emperor without clothes. His erratic and authoritarian behaviors have cost American people not just their money, their lives, but also the pride of being Americans. In my younger days, like many people, I often chased great teachers and saw them as gurus. Since they're expert in certain areas, we have made them expert in every area. We followers gave them the power. When the leaders have not worked through their ego trap, they often gladly took the power and sat on the throne. Authoritarian leaders of many countries in the world, including ours, have occupied their throne like emperors, believing that they're preordained. This reason they can do this is because their followers put them there. This is no different from religious leaders who followers follow like sheep. By the time this top-down dynamic is really established, when the follower finally decided to push back, these leaders will use their power to quash any dissent. Whether it is the president of a country, a company, our boss, a minister, or leaders of a congregation, their powers are not absolute unless we followers surrender our power to them. As you can see, that very often when we gave away our power is because of fear. Fear is a learned behavior. As babies, we were born with very little innate fear. The environment we're born into taught us to fear as a survival mechanism. The more we are afraid, the more we're willing to chip away our innocent and authentic self and give our power away. So if we want the world to change, we need to face our fears and reclaim all the parts of us that we traded away because of fear and become whole again, like Michael Jackson's song, "The Man in the Mirror" we played before the service. It asks us to look at ourselves, find these authentic qualities, and lead the change again. Leadership is much more than a position, but a quality. Just because someone holds a title, it does not mean they're a leader. If we ask anyone to come up with a list of some of these qualities a great leader should have, they'll probably come up with this list: self-awareness, respect, compassion, vision, communication, learning agility, collaboration, maturity, empathy, vulnerability, curiosity, honesty, moral compass, influence, integrity, courage, gratitude, resilience, transparency, accountability, open to feedback, responsibility, critical thinking, and humility. Looking closely, these are the highest human quality we need to reclaim to be our authentic self, regardless being a follower or a leader. Being a good followers, we can help leaders become better leaders. And especially between being a leader and a follower is only a toggle switch away. We all need leadership qualities because 50% of the time, we will have a chance to be a leader who can stand up, exercise influence, and change the situation. This is nothing to do with a title or a position. Whether it is a project or an organization, leader sets a vision and guide the team, while effective followers involve actively supporting that vision with accountability and initiative. These roles are completely reciprocal. Successful organizations require great leaders who empower others and capable followers willing to offer constructive dissent. And competent followers are also free to use their critical thinking and hold their leaders accountable for the purpose of accomplishing their mission. Both roles requires commitment to a common goal, a mutual respect, clear communication, rather than blind obedience. Between leaders and followers, there is a power dynamic based on trust and loyalty. But these are not blind offerings. Trusting a leader means believing in their character and competence, but it does not make them infallible. Healthy trust requires accountability because no one is perfect. The most effective leader earned that trust by admitting mistakes, listening to feedback, and prioritize transparency over the illusion of flawlessness. We followers need to trust but verify. The minute we give up our critical thinking skills, we have created an emperor. Loyalty is a two-sided coin. Great leaders deserve the followers' loyalty, but true loyalty means having the courage and ability to give constructive feedback to the leaders who for the purpose of helping the leaders do a better job. Blind loyalty prop up the leaders like emperors when they have no clothes on. Followers need to know when they have colluded with the power to be just because of this loyalty and are rewarded to silence themselves. They have sold out their integrity. Doing my consulting work with a major corporation in the Midwest, a CEO did not like to hear any bad news, so no one around him gave him any. He made a decision to buy a smaller company and turned out to be a bad decision. The company's stock value dropped 50%. All the employees who invested in the company had lost 50% of their retirement benefit. When we fail to be a good follower, we perpetuate a top-down power dynamic that easily turns into dictatorship. We can change this power dance. As good followers, we need to know when to accept the direction that our leaders ask us to take or when to push back. To maintain a healthy balance between trusting the leadership and holding them accountable, we need to consider keeping these strategies in mind. First of all, distinguish trust from blind obedience. Trust is earned through consistent, honest actions. Normalize vulnerability. Great leaders build stronger teams when they admit they don't have all the answers. It encourages a culture of safety where followers can share their ideas and concerns without fear of retribution. Third, focus on accountability system. Evaluating an organization based on its processes, transparency, check and balances provides an objective measure of success regardless of individual personalities. Fourth is practicing constructive feedback. Effective leadership relies on healthy communication. Sharing constructive, respectful feedback allows leaders to adjust their course and grow. Of all the great characters for a leader or follower, the quality of courage stands out the most for me. By the time my parents escaped to the island of Taiwan from mainland China, my father, as an army general, already fought two wars. First is Japanese invasion. Second is the Civil War against communists. Throughout his life, he has kept his integrity and moral compass under extreme and dangerous circumstances. When I was 16 years old, my father had been the head of the largest animal hospital on the island for a long time. One night after dinner, the phone rang. It was the youngest son of our president at the time, nicknamed the Prince. Remember, Taiwan at the time was not a democracy. He said his dog was sick and demanded that my father come south on the train that night to operate on his dog. My father explained that as an administrator, he had not operated on any animal for years now, but offered to send the best surgeon south. The prince became angry and threatened to have my father's head if he didn't go down and perform the operation himself that night, and then hung up. There was a dead silence at the dinner table. My father's face was purely white, but he did not move. He said, be prepared to have hard time. 30 minutes later, the prince handler called and explained that the prince was drunk, that says it was fine to send a surgeon next morning. I knew that even when the second call didn't come, my father would not have followed the orders the prince has sent out. His courage when facing tyranny made such an impression on me. All these years, I often wonder if I have the courage when facing threats like this. Courage is ability and willingness to speak truth to power, even when there is a cost. Whether this cost is life-threatening or just inconvenience. Do we have the courage to stand up, tell the truth, go against the grain, and differentiate? The other quality of a good leader is to have ability to take in feedback. Authentic leaders are courageous enough to take in feedback because they know they can always learn something new. They have worked to avoid their ego trap. Unfortunately, when a leader relies on what is tried and true and becomes reluctant to hear new ideas or criticism and refuses to allow open communication, he or she will have only compliant followers who keep their mouths shut. At the end, we're feeding the emperor all over again. Another authentic quality all of us need is the ability to handle conflict. We not only need courage to handle conflict, but we also need to use effective listening skill to understand what conflict is. Unfortunately, many of us are conflict avoidant because conflict causes discomfort and leads to disharmony. Many of us rather choose peace over truth. But when we avoid conflict directly, we end up letting issues go underground and impact our relationship and our mission. And also, it damages our humanity. To engage in conflict requires all the human qualities for both leaders and followers. Now, let us take a look at a group. This could be a work team, a committee, a board of trustee, or any group of people with a common goal. A high-functioning team means there is cohesion and alignment on the shared goals with freedom in execution. And the team member feels safe enough to voice their doubts and disagree respectfully while offering diverse opinions and ideas constructively. And when the group are resilient enough to manage conflict, growth happens. But when the team develops groupthink, that is when the desire for harmony causes a group to abandon critical thinking and come to consensus at all costs and avoid rocking the boat. In such team, the unpopular opinions get quashed. Resistance to change has cost the group some potential great ideas to grow. The team member lack courage to stand apart as they go along to get along. Lacking leadership, this team becomes stagnant. This problem sometimes happens between old-timers who think they know everything and the newcomer who think they have better ideas. Without practicing accountability, transparency, open communication, and following objective system with policy, procedure, and an organization or work team will not grow beyond operating like a village where decisions were made inside an inner circle in arbitrary and top-down fashion. In Mary Oliver's poem, Journey, I read to you, she asks us to become that leader who's willing to stand out, chart the path, lead the way through the storm. Once again, a good follower will create a good leader. We need to reclaim these qualities so that we can become whole again and let the spirit of our leadership illuminate. I hope that we will keep looking in the mirror and find that genuine and authentic human being capable of following and leading. This troubled world really needs us. Amen. Namaste. May it be so.